Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RENNSPORT Community League. A new season, Season 9, about to begin here today at the Nürburgring. And we got lots of talent on the grid. Some people we haven't seen in quite a while, or haven't seen in Season 8 to be exact. And luckily for me, I have not to commentate this on my own, because alongside me in the commentary booth is my favorite colleague. I did not just say that. Tim Ireland. Welcome, Tim.
Hello, Lino. Hello, everyone in Twitch. I hope you're having a great day. And yeah, thanks for picking us on Valentine's Day. Come and watch some racing action instead of trying to get some actual action.
That is a very good point you make. Some of us may not be very occupied on this day, to be specific. But yeah, we are here to watch some racing, and I'm sure it will be some good racing. We have some returning champions, we have some race winners, we have a very fresh champion of the last season, and a lot of new faces that have proven themselves in previous races, or are going to prove themselves here today. It will certainly be very interesting, and we are right now in qualifying.
Yeah, we've got an interesting mix of drivers and cars as well. We've got a bit more of a mix of cars than we have done, I think, recently. So that's always good to see. We've got some Xbox players, we've got some PlayStation players, we've got some PC players, obviously. And it should make for some good racing.
Yeah, and I mean, before we jump into the action here, we may as well have a quick look at what this season has to offer. And as said at the end of last season, it will be structured a bit differently. So we are now in stage 1 of the season, which contains Nürburgring at Spa, which will be the European leg of the season. Kicking off things here in Germany, one of the tracks that has been featured in the very first RCL season. And of course of the first R1 season. Quite iconic. But yeah, a bit of a love and hate relationship for some of these drivers. Before we move to Spa, which is, I think, everyone's favorite going into round 2.
Yeah, I think all race drivers love Spa, surely.
So, yeah, kicking off things here at the Nürburgring. We are on board with Rohan den Hood, a 2-time champion in the series. We have now Kimi Harpler, a 1-time champion in the series. And both of them in the Aston Martin. I think that's something you wanted to allude to a bit earlier. Yeah,
I just noticed that quite a few people, especially in the PC department, seem to have signed up with the Aston Martin today. Some of them foregoing their usual car picks. So I wonder if there's been a bit of testing and a bit of setup work going on there. And they've decided to swap cars.
One driver who hasn't decided to swap cars and is back in his trusty old Porsche 992.1, this way around, is Dominic Ladler. He is, well, pretty much the heavyweight in this race. 5 championships in the RCL season. Multiple Nordschleife championships. He's won pretty much everything you could win within the RENNSPORT community sporting. Last season, a bit of a downer season. Couldn't quite compete, unfortunately, due to some issues on the technical side. But he is back, and he will surely be adamant to show what he has in his back pocket.
Yeah, I think he's going to be hungry to get a win. It's been a while for Dominic Ladler, so he's going to be looking to get on some podiums. Struggling to find a bit of space right now in the more kind of standard qualifying format we've got going on for this season. But he's muscling his way through to get a bit of open air and see if he can get some quick laps in.
A very good benchmark set by Rohan den Hood here, 155.4. That is a very good point to start. In practice we have seen some 55.7 from Alizaya and around this. But Alizaya himself currently in second, but we know there's a lot more to give. One big thing I noticed, Schwego, while everyone else gone Aston Martin, has gone for the Audi, and I think that is the very first time we see Schwego in anything else but a BMW or Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's not a popular pick, shall we say, the Audi right now. It's gone a bit out of fashion, but it's good to see it up on the grid and someone like Schwiger using it. He's not a slow driver by any means, so it'd be good to have some Audi action towards the front of the grid.
Dennis Kurz, another driver, but he is known to drive the Audi, so not a surprise here. We will be maybe a bit surprised to not be the only one on this occasion to use it. We also got the return of Dustin Magix. He's going for the Porsche this time. Last time out in Monza, he drove the BMW. Of course, the 7, having their own series here, had the Nürburgring Nordschleife. He is very familiar with the Grand Prix circuit. But the first lap times are going to drop very soon. Alisa a bit in traffic here behind Carsten Hermann Konarski going to the Vidal chicane. But that, of course, is the very tricky thing with this qualifying format. You have to find your spot on the grid. You have to find some clean air to race in. And even with just 14 cars on the grid, this can prove to be quite tricky.
Yeah, it's a bit of a skill for sure, is finding space and getting it to let you get a decent lap time in.
Hard braking zone down into turn 1. Dominic Lada just behind Alisa, so these two will probably run a bit nose to tail here. Maybe a bit of a slipstream for Dominic Lada as well if he can catch it.
Yeah, one of the other cheeky things with the qualifying format is you can get a bit of a slipstream off someone if you time things right. But you obviously don't want it to slow you down. That defeat the object. So you need to catch someone at just the right time, really. Not always under your control.
Currently third is Matish Segui, who has been really impressive at the end of the last season. It's very nice to see him back. I think he also had a very good run in the RNL last time out, which will of course continue next week. But yeah, he's currently sitting in P3. Still a bit behind Alizaya. But they will have one more lap to go after this one.
Rowan Dehoid really showing some dominance at the front of the field right now with nearly 9/10 gap back to Alisa here.
And he seems to be consistently improving. He has started with a 55.4, is now down to 55.2, so it's not a one-time fluke. Kimi Hapla across the line is good enough for third with a 156.2. But Rowan Den Hurt currently across the line with the 55 dead, so even more improvements here for the Dutchman. He surely wants to kick this season off strong.
Ali's here just coming in at a 55.4, so he's closed the gap down a fair amount there.
It's getting tighter up front though. Now 3 cars quite in close range within each other. Kimi Hapla, Segui and Dominic Lala. Dustin Magic's not too far off of that. Schwiger still getting to grips with the Audi. We're on a 57.1 at the moment.
Dustin Magic opting to go back to the pits, so he's called it a day with his 57 dead.
We also have 2 drivers for NGS back in this race. Cesco Monoreal for some time has been the only driver of that team to show up, but Piotr Zadalbe is back and he's in the Evo Porsche this time around, not the EBS Plus BMW, electing to go from front to rear engine. Let's see if that will switch things around for him a bit. And potentially the first time Rowan Den Hurt is seeing a yellow sector at the moment.
Yeah, will he be able to get to the end of the lap before the time runs out? Maybe.
He should be able to. Coming into Vidal, it's not a long way until turn 1. Of course,
Harper's just coming round the final turn to put in a lap time. Don't think he's going to beat his best though.
He's not going for the improvement as well. Alizaya also a bit down in the first 2 sectors. Might not actually make the flag here to drive another lap. It will be tight. But I think he's going to miss out on another lap.
One guy who's going to make a slight improvement is Dominic Ladler. But no real position gain. He just shaved a couple of tenths off.
Hood will be the last car on track. But just Segui coming across the line, no improvement there. Let's go on board with our 2-time champion. Also, there's of course a second split going, so if you want to check the positions in that race, you have to go to the RENNSPORT app, and then you can see the live timings and position of these drivers. These will of course contribute to the championship points as well. And they have been very crucial in recent championships for some drivers to make up positions. And if
there is just one big points pool, so even if you're just racing in the second split, you can it still counts as points for any races where you end up in the first split and your overall position at the end of the season.
And if you want to join any of the championships, you can pretty much easily do that. All you need is a safety rating of 3 here for the RENNSPORT Community League. And you can be part of it too, and Ron, I think, is aborting this lap. Dennis Kurzer in front though. He will make it to the finish line. The question is, can he improve? He's lost quite a lot of time in Sector 2. Maybe still good enough for a few positions. But now 2/10 quicker than his last lap time. And I think that is it for qualifying. Rowan Hood banking the first 3 points of the season in front of Alizaya, who gets 2, and Kimi Hapler getting 1 for qualifying here. About as expected, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, Rowan had a bit of time out from RENNSPORT, and he's come back, and he seems to have come back a little bit quicker than he was before. So that's always great to see him coming back and taking part here. Got all top 3 places in Aston Martins, so that's going on with my Aston Martin theory.
Well, they certainly are the quickest at the moment from any point of metric, I'd say, whether they drive Aston Martin or not. They have been proving themselves in various machinery last time out, if you think about the Mustang at Monza and so on. But we can hear the engines rev up. The lights will come up any moment now. Here they are. And we go racing in a Season 9 here at the Nürburgring. Very good stuff from Cesco Moreira there. Ron Hood going defensively on the inside. Kimi Hapler not having the best launch, trying to go the long way around the outside. On the inside, Mathieu Segui in a very good position, having to defend from both Dominic Ladler and Schweger though. Dominic Ladler now on the inside in the Haukarten. That is a very good position for the Porsche to be in. But up front, Alizaya trying his best to muscle his way by Ron Hood. But Ron is not budging, not even moving a single centimeter. And we leave the top 5 very close to untouched. Dominic Ladler and Mathieu Segui switching places. Schweger still in P7. And David Peko having to defend hard from Dennis Kurzer.
3 making a bit of a breakaway from Dominic Ladler in 4th right now. The Aston Martins really seem to be working together, not fighting too much, besides Ali Zahir getting a bit heated, shall we say, against Rowan Hood.
Yeah, typical Alizar style, I'd say. Nothing too surprising there. But of course, consistency will be important here. Also, Dustin Magic's very good start to the race for him here, right on the back bumper of Mathieu Segui. Kimi Hapler trying to get some heat into the tires, as it seems. As we head towards Vedol for the first time. Maybe a bit of a hotspot later in the race.
Yeah, it looks like Rowan's starting to get a little bit of a gap ahead of Ali Zahir. Just seems to be widening it a tiny bit.
Schwiego on the inside here through the Hyundai N curve and making the move past Dustin Magics, who had a very poor exit out of the Vedol chicane, nearly bunched up with Schwiego there as well, and that allows the Audi to move up into 6th place. Unless Segui can, Dustin Magics can make a move here down in turn 1, but this is going to be the position for Schwiego. Up front, 9/10 the gap from Alizaya to Rowan den Hurt.
Yeah, Ali's having to contend a lot more with... oh, that's an unfortunate spin for Chesu Monera.
Had a very, very strong start to the race. Unfortunately, for now, that has put a bit of a hold onto his race aspirations. Very aggressive dive here from Matusz Segui. Both drivers really using the Porsche in a different way, but that's what we've seen with Dominik Ladler. And that's why we have seen him surge so late into the races at times, because he's very conservative with his tires.
Yeah, we've seen it kind of racing again, that Dominik Ladler just seems to be a bit of a master at keeping his tyres nicely towards the end of a race. He always seems to have good pace there.
And he has won quite a few of his championships through not sheer domination, but sheer consistency. Something that Kimi Harpler for once took as good as advice for the last season. Oh, but Kimi Harpler taking a lot of curb there through Vedol, and that will allow Dominik Ladler to close in quite a bit because it lost the Aston Martin a lot of speed. And Dustin Magic's also around at Vedol, and that's exactly what we meant. It's going to be a bit of a hotspot in this race.
Yeah, it's a natural place to try and make a bit of an overtake, and it's from a very fast section of the track to a very, very slow couple of corners. You really want to be carrying your speed through there, and but it does mean that it's easy to stick a nose in and people not notice.
Piotr Zadaiel behind Marco Gempler and Carsten Hermann Konarski. Two of the Katowice liveried cars just in front of each other. That's also very nice to see. Of course, pretty much the oldest livery you could have in RENNSPORT.
Oldest and one of the best.
Still a fan favorite, that's for certain.
Yeah, Rowan de Hood stretching out his lead at the front of the race now. Is just over a second and a half from Ali Zahir. Ali having about the same amount of gap back to Kimi Harpler after his taking too much curb incident error. Then about a second back to Dominik Ladler, who's got Mate Segui hot on his heels.
Yeah, these two really close together, the closest at the moment on track. But Dominik Ladler is also not really losing time to Kimi Harpler at the moment, so there's still the chance for him to fight for that podium after all. And Schwiego in the Audi is also not losing a lot of time here to the lead group. So after having to fight for that position with Dustin Magics, he seems to really have found a spot on the track and pacing around at a good or reasonable pace.
Yeah, and it's not far off the where he's going to start getting some aero advantage from the two cars ahead, so that'll really help him creep that gap a little closer.
McLaren a little defensive here into turn 1, but you have to be very aware with a car 3/10 behind of yourself, of course, and he knows that better than most other drivers. And the pair of Gempler and Konarski has caught up to Dennis Kurzer, the second of the Audis in the grid here today.
Very early in the race yet, but Rowan de Hood currently having fastest lap, as you might expect, after his pretty dominant pole position in qualifying. He's done a 55.3.
Yeah, of course, usually what we experience is that lap times will drop later on into the race, lower fuel levels, and especially the tires coming into life later on. You have seen Kimi Harper trying to get some heat into them at the end of lap 1. They do pace up with time a bit. Oh, and Dennis Kurzer with a mistake out of the Dunlop Kehre and losing 2 positions in the process. Still somewhat side by side here with Marco Gempler, who makes it cleanly through, but Dennis Kurzer has not given up yet. Still alongside, now coming down into turn 10, but backing out of it, making the better decision here, I think. Alizaya seems to have made a mistake somewhere, because Kimi Hapler is only 8/10 behind him now, so still not in striking distance, but certainly has lost him the option to fight with Rowan and Hurt for the moment.
Yeah, the gap up to Rowan seems to have opened up a bit, so I'm assuming that Ali had a bit of a bum lap somewhere along the way, although he's not in the last couple of laps, because his lap times don't seem too bad. I think he's just lost a couple of tenths here and there. Kimi seems to have found a bit of form, because he's doing 55.7s.
Schwege really catching up to the 2 Porsches ahead, because they have started fighting a bit. And you can also see Segui here trying to just get the tires where he needs them to be to fight Dominic Ladler. But that brings Schwege even closer into the picture of this fight. And Piotr Zadaiba is also only 4/10 behind Dennis Kurzer now, after he had his slight excursion last time out. Dustin Magic's catching up to the cars in front as well, so he's not given up on any top 10 position in this race.
Yeah, we seem to have a bit of a train between kind of 9th and 13th position. Gempler, Kurtzers, Deibel, Monero, and Magix, they all seem to be fairly close together on our timing screen, so there's a good opportunity there for me making up a lot of places. Dustin Magix at the back of that group has been lapping the fastest of them all, so I'm expecting him to make some moves.
Oh, and Chesco Monreira spinning off in between turn 10 and turn 11. Too much throttle too early. Not really his day here at the moment, after such a good run in the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League. It's looking good for Kimi Harpla, our defending champion though, because he is catching up closer and closer to Alizaya, only 4/10 the gap.
Yeah, the gap between Harpler and Ladler has really opened up. So you can see the drop in pace as Dominic Ladler's been going defensive against the other 2 cars behind him. It's really letting Kimi Harpler get away more and open that gap up.
Five RENNSPORT champions in the top 6. That's not a statistic, then I don't know what is. And Matish Segui putting up the fight right with the big dogs.
Yeah, he's the guy fighting for some console pride between the top 6 right now. The other 5 drivers, sorry, all PC drivers. Matej Segui on the Xbox.
I think the first really memorable race of him, I'm sure I've seen his name before a couple of times, but the first big break was definitely last season in RCL at Monza. As we have our first DNF, unfortunately, Marco Gempler not finishing this race. Schwege seems to pick up more and more pace with each passing lap.
Yeah, he seems to be getting a bit more used to his Audi, and He's very, very close between Mate and Segui, so seems to be scoping out where he's going to make a move.
Fight going on between old and new, Evo and non-Evo. Piotr Zadabel defending from Dustin Magix, who is going to make a move down the inside into turn 1. Gets the car stopped in time. Piotr Zadabel trying to do the switchback, not getting the traction he needs. And that will be P10 for Dustin Magix.
Something's happened to Ali Zahir because he's dropped down to 6th place now. He's right behind Schwiger, which has made a bit of a train of 4 cars between Zahir and Dominic Ladler.
No visible damage on that Aston Martin, so we have seen him sliding a lot before. Maybe he overcooked the tires a bit. Of course, Aston Martin not his typical machine to use. Usually he's found in the AMG or sometimes the Porsche. And he's eager to get by, indicated by the constant use of the flasher down the back straight on the Grand Prix part of the circuit.
There is a certain amount of impatience going on there, which I know we've associated with Ali Zahir before. He's got a bit of an impatient streak when it comes to overtaking. He's showing Swigo plenty of respect right now. But how long will it last?
And this fight between Schwiger and Segui, and now also to be Ali Zayas, is really opening up the gap to Dominic Ladler. And now we have a 3-way fight down the front stretch. Ali Zaya nearly bump drafting Schwiger to be closer to Segui. Segui defending to the inside. Bit of a miscommunication as Schwiger going for the dive down the inside. Can Segui make the switchback? And indeed he does, but can he hang it around the outside of the Haughagen? Seems like he's trying to go for another switchback, but the Audi just a bit stronger in this scenario. And
he's pushing Schwiger a bit wide, but that of course gives him the immediate inside line for the next corner. Going very wide. That's a track limits.
But the overtake is still not done because around the outside goes the Porsche, not quite, backs out of it. But again, it's just setting up for each turn. You can really see he's setting the Audi up. Segui is setting the Audi up, forcing Enrico to take lines he usually wouldn't want to take, so he gets the advantage.
I think pretty telling from all this is that Ali Zahir hasn't been able to really capitalise on it. They're obviously fighting and taking strange lines into corners, but he's not been able to get that Aston Martin pushed past.
Oh, but Segui off the track into the Schumacher S. This can be super nasty, and that leaves Ali Zahir to go through. So patience did pay off here for him. Now he has a couple more cars in front of him to make his way past. Starting off with the man he just helped to overtake.
He's got 1.7 seconds up to Dominic Ladler. You can just see him going through the chicane there. So they've got a little bit of time before they catch up with him.
Enrico, of course, always very notable due to the emergency lights being on. I'm not sure if that is foreshadowing or if that is simply his signature move. One he stole from another driver, it has to be said.
Yes.
But what I really love about the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, and I know there are some contrary opinions to that, but I will remain strong in that I really like that track, is the different lines you can take, and not only with different cars, but we've seen it with Ladler and Segui. Even with the same car you can take so many corners so differently. And of course amplified then by the usage of different cars.
I do like it as a racetrack. For as much as a ribbing I give to the Vidal chicane, I do think it is a great racetrack, and for the reasons you gave, really, is that there is so many options with line, and also the amount of layout options which we haven't really had a chance to delve into at RENNSPORT yet, but hopefully in the future. It's got a lot of different layouts. It suits a lot of different cars, which makes it a great track.
Well, the first new layouts are going to be added very soon. If you haven't heard the news, early March, the next update will come out, and it features the Fuji Grand Prix short version and the Road Atlanta shortcut. Just the first of many to come, as Alizar is now making a move down into Vedol. The Audi, though, is very strong on the brakes, and Schwigo makes the move, but sacrifices too much of the exit speed. Alizar makes his way past the Audi. Beautifully done there by the Lebanese driver.
Yeah, I think Schwigo decided to let him through there and didn't contest it too much. That last turn can be a bit tricky side by side, but Ali put him immediately off the racing line to try and make sure that Schwigo can't come back on him.
Has gone very smoothly here for Alizar, but still the gap to Dominic Lala has grown to nearly 2 seconds. So even if Alizar is the faster contract, he first has to make the time up, and Dominic Lala can use the time to still take care of his tires and have the advantage. But far in front you can see Rondon Hood, who is really unbothered by all of this.
Yeah, he's just looking at the timing tower and having a good chuckle to himself, I think. He's got 5 seconds, over 5 seconds on Kimi Harpler right now. He's got the fastest lap by a good couple of tenths, so he's sitting pretty.
And Maciej Segui is sitting behind Schwigo, maybe trying to figure out how he lost 2 positions in this relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a shock for him. But yeah, a bit of gravel on the Schumacher S's, and it really saps your speed for the straight afterwards.
Sitting behind them, with of course a bit of a gap, but still leading the rest of the field, is David Peko in the BMW M4, followed by Carsten Hermann Konarski. These two have silently made their way up into P7 and P8. So for them, the race is going pretty smoothly, all things considered.
I think Ali Zaki has got a bit of a fire under his belly, because he's just done a purple sector 2, and he is well up on Dominic Ladler, despite us saying he was nearly 2 seconds down a couple of minutes ago.
That has gone really fast, and he seems to really be on rails almost with the car, something that we wouldn't have noticed at the start of the race, and making his way down into turn 1, past Dominic Ladler, losing the rear end again though. That gives the Porsche of course the advantage in the traction, but in the end still making his way by the Porsche.
And that little overtaking move has brought the duo of Schwigo and Mati Segui back up onto Dominic Ladler's back rear end here, but not getting the memo. Mati Segui seems to be fighting with Enrico Breuninger rather than closing up the gap.
It's not always an easy decision, that is for certain. But if it wasn't for misfortune, I think it's fair to say that Alizar would have been very well in contention for the last RNL championship, which in the end has been won by Schwigo. So I think it's no surprise that he is very strong here on the Grand Prix circuit as well. And
yeah, it's a track that we're all very familiar with, so he seems to be putting his knowledge to good use.
And it's also a track, or at least I know for this race specifically, that Kimi Harpler and Alizar have trained for this event quite a bit. So they have tried to get as prepared as possible. And it seems to work out very, very well.
Rowan de Hoed improving on his fastest lap of the race, now doing a 55.286. Just shaving off a couple of hundredths.
It got very close there between Alizar and Dominic Ladler down into turn 1, but
it did a bit, yeah.
I think Dominic knows the car very well. I mean, it's the car he won a lot of championships with in this very livery.
Yeah, he's driven it once or twice, hasn't he?
I'm still very surprised to see Schwiger in the Audi in this event specifically. I mean, as some of you regular viewers will know that both Tim and I do like to drive the Audi. And drive it fairly regularly, but I think none of us would say that it particularly thrives here at the Nürburgring with a lot of medium and technical corners.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And still he elected to drive it, which is something that I can really appreciate. And he seems to be doing very, very fine.
Yeah, he seems to be making it work, so all good to him. Hopefully we'll see more Audi action as the season goes on.
We will certainly see more action of these drivers specifically.
Seem to have got a very well established train between Ladler, Schwiger and Segui right now. There's not much of a gap between any of them. I know it sometimes looks a bit further on camera, but there's only like 3-4 tenths between them.
One gap that is closing in the meantime is the one between David Pick and Carsten Hermann Konarski. So that is coming down to sub 1 second levels now. And Dustin Magic's behind in the Porsche is also not too far away. So I wouldn't count him out of this fight either. And Schwiger making the move down into turn 1 on the inside of Dominic Ladler. The Porsche in the advantage though here, exiting turn 1. So keeping P4 for now, but Schwiger again on the inside now coming into the Mercedes arena. Can he keep the momentum up?
Take a wide line and keep the speed.
He does, and Matisz Segui is right there with him. Side by side now into the Grand Prix part of the circuit. There is a bit of contact. They still keep control of the cars though, and exit as they enter. But this fight is far from over.
Yeah, I thought Segui was going to stick it down the inside there when Schwiger went a little bit wide, but he seemed to have thought better of it and decided not to. And the fight carries on.
And Dominic Ladler went a bit wide into the gravel, exiting Dunlop, and again into Schumacher S, getting a bit loose. Schwiger to the outside. We've seen that work before, but Dominic Ladler has it covered. And Matisz Segui will have a field day seeing this pan out in front of him.
He's just going to be crossing his fingers for a little bit more contact.
We can see the Audi in the slipstream, Dominic Ladler to the inside of the Vidal chicane. Both cars very strong on the straight, and Schwiger trying to do the exact same thing Alizai has done to him. Not working out in this case. Here comes Segui to the outside of the Audi. Through the Hyundai N curve, it's all about the momentum, and Segui with a very, very good exit. And are we going to see a 3 right here down the main straight? Dominic Ladler going to the inside, Segui to the outside, Schwiger going for the middle. Late braking, Segui now trying to do the switch back.
Not able to quite hang it around the outside.
How was there no position change? You can see on the rear.
He made a good attempt at it, but he just couldn't quite hold out from the outside line.
And you can see on the rear Segui working hard, fighting that Porsche to go through the turns. He wants to get these cars in front. And look how close they get, going down into the Dunlop-Kehre. There's not much space between these bumpers, all going for a different line. But all of them working out. And while this train of 3 is fighting over position, we are also having another train of 3 forming for P7, P8 and P9. With Carsten Hermann Konarski in the sandwich between David Peko and Dustin Magix.
Yeah, it's another good battle that looks to be shaping up there. Dustin Magic's just trying to get a little bit closer before he's really taking part in the fight.
Schwigo this time going for the inside into Vidal. Dominic Lala having to go around the outside, making it work. Bit of a grip loss there, exiting the turn. The curb can really throw the car off. And here we go again for the main straight. And again, Segui just trying to get a lot of momentum and seemingly able to do so.
Doesn't seem to have got quite as well as he did last time, though. He's been a bit further back. Dominic taking a very defensive line. Schwigo going for a cutback. Not really able to get enough alongside, though.
What a way to kick off Season 9.
It's a good start. You can't deny.
Schwigo getting a bit loose there. Carsten Hermann Konarski diving to the inside here down into turn 1. Dustin Magic's watching from behind as the German is getting past the Spaniard. Can he make his way through as well?
Taking a lot of liberties with the track there.
Carsten Hermann Konarski seems to have some connection issues, but no big deal here. It's pretty much the exact same thing, just with different cars. It's very, very interesting to watch.
Yeah. Just to give some props to our front runner, Ron de Herd, currently 7 seconds off the front of the race. He's just putting lap after lap in kind of mid 55s. Right now.
Ruan Hood really having a very good performance here today. He seems to be planted. My apologies, that was my connection this time. But Ruan Hood really having a good day. Seems to have prepared for it very well. Dustin Magic's...
Yeah,
is he going to make a move? No, David Pico very late on the brakes in the BMW, but making it work.
Ali Zahir, 8 seconds off the back of Kimi Harpler. Doesn't seem to be making any major inroads into his lead. So I know the pace on track has been fairly similar. So it's going to be a while before anything happens there. We've only got 15 minutes left of the race. I think a lot of the action is going to be coming from the 2 battling trios we have going on track right now.
These are certainly going on for quite a while. The gap up front though, Kimi Harpler 6.8 seconds to Ruan Hood, so maybe a bit of a mistake, or actually Ruan Hood losing a bit of pace, maybe taking some pace out of it. Could all be the case. But I tell you what, fighting like this, running in the dirty air for so long, while the tires are very durable here, you are going to start to feel it at some point. These guys have all been fighting for so long. These 3, not as long, but still Dustin Magic's will feel the fronts giving in at some point.
Yeah, it's all kind of using up your tyres as the race goes on. Obviously not really any point swapping tyres in a race like this. And there's no point finishing with extra tyre. You might as well use it, but it does all come at the cost of grip as the race goes on.
And I think you can really see that on the Audi of Schwigo, because he's starting to slide more and more on the rears. He's getting very aggressive on the throttle as well, which is pretty much a death loop at some point. And Dustin Magic's has made his way past David Peko exiting Vidal. Just missed the move, unfortunately, but now he has Carsten Hermann Konarski in front of him, and what a comeback it would be for him to finish in P7, dropping down the order very early into the race.
Yeah, unfortunately, quite a big gap between Konarski and Matthias Seguid, so I don't think there's any chance of him making that up. P7's probably the best he can manage, but he's definitely made a fantastic comeback.
Well, certainly has. And if maybe you want to give a closer insight at this, but all these cars in this race are so incredibly competitive over this race that even while Ron Hood is 6.7 seconds ahead of Kimi Harper, it could have been anyone's race if just something went a bit different. That was unfortunate timing. But if just one tiny thing would have gone different, one tiny contact as we had in Monza last time out, it has been an incredibly clean race, that has to be said. But just one tiny thing and anybody would be in the win, in a hunt for the win here as Schrigo is trying to make a move on Dominik Ladler.
Yeah, he seems to have managed to make it stick so far. He looks going to be happy with that. But yeah, there are times are very, very close. And I mean, Kimi Harpler, Ali Zahir, I know the gaps are quite large right now, but their lap times are pretty close together. Last time round, Kimi Harpler was only a 10th off Rowan de Hood lap time wise. That was some mega brakes by Dominik Ladler, but I don't know if he's going to be able to hold it. He seems to have got good power out of the corner.
And it seems like Schrigo's gone around.
Yeah, he just lost traction in the stadium section of the track when he was alongside Dominik Ladler. Couldn't quite.
I'm very, very sorry for the instabilities here. That is, we stream from a German track, so we might as well have the German internet experience. But, yeah, I mean, as you said, traction loss for Schrigo. Very unfortunate. Kind of predictable at some point.
Yeah, you said he was starting to slide around a little bit more. His tyres obviously looking a bit worse for wear. So just pushed a little bit too hard. And unfortunately, round and round he goes.
But what an incredible move by Dominik Ladler. Super aggressive around the outside, hard on the brakes. The Audi is one of the only cars to really contend with the Porsche on the brakes for such moves. But still, he made it work beautifully going around the outside.
Yeah, I thought he was going to suffer for it coming out of the corner, but he managed to stay just ahead of Schwigo. And so we had to back out to take a good line through the stadium section, and unfortunately ended with him spinning. But they've had the last half an hour of constant battling, so can't argue too much, I don't suppose.
Destin Magic's trying to find his way by Konarski. He had a few chances already. Didn't quite work out, but now with the prime chance to do the exact same as Dominik Ladler. Down into turn 1. Both cars hard on the brakes. Konarski going over to the inside very early. And they enter the same way they leave, or the other way around. Oh, and there is contact. Dustin Magix keeps it pointed into the right direction. But that will leave David Peko to take back P8 here on the inside into the left-hander. Again, a bit of contact, but yes, that is actually David Peko back up into P8. So Dustin Magic's losing the position he worked so hard for to get.
He's going to be frustrated about that. Got 8 minutes to the race left though, so he can make a comeback. He seems to be the comeback kid. I'm sure he can do it again.
There certainly is enough time to make that up. He doesn't really have a lot of pressure. P6 is quite far up the road, even though he had a slight spin there. Run and Hood also really starting to slide as Dustin Magic's now making his way down the inside, down in turn 10 as he enters Bildstein back into P8.
Yeah, it seemed like a very leisurely overtake, that one. There wasn't too much of a fight put up by David Pico. He just seemed to saunter past.
Kimi Hapler running very unassuming in second. I think he will be quite satisfied with that result. Of course, he's slowly catching Run and Hood, but with 7 minutes on the clock, I don't think that will be sufficient really to make up the time unless there's a bigger mistake here by the Dutchman. But he seems well in control.
I don't know if Rowan made a big mistake last lap or not, but he lost nearly half a second to Kimi Harpler. It's hovering around 6 seconds now. It was 8 seconds earlier on in the race. Obviously, took a while to get down to 6 seconds. But he does seem to be having a bit of a slower pace now, whereas Kimi seems to be trucking on, staying with the kind of mid to low 55s.
Dominic Ladler's getting another visit here from Matish Segui. But it seems like only having one car to fight with helps Dominic Ladler in this scenario, because Matish Segui is struggling. There we are back. Hopefully this time for the final stretch without any further issues. But yeah, I mean, how much action so far in this race. Really everything you could imagine happening in terms of fights, these 3-way fights especially.
Yeah, there's kind of not too much has changed in the close fights during the little bit of downtime that we've had, but it's been a pretty action-packed race, even with the little stop-starts in the stream.
And Matish Segui getting really aggressive here. He wants to get past Dominic Lala by any chance. There's a bit of contact between the two of them. And look how close they run side by side in the infield. Again, a bit of contact. But who will be on top? And it's Dominic Ladler hanging his way around the outside, exiting the Mercedes arena. But what a try for Matish Segui. Had vibes like, who was it in Hungary in F1 against Schumacher? Was it Montoya? I'm not sure anymore.
Might be. It's been a while. I'm not an avid F1 watcher, so I'll defer to you there.
Watching any kind of motorsport actually, but Dustin Magic's also right back on the bumper of Carsten Hermann Konarski, the car that is his benchmark in this race essentially, or has become his benchmark. And he will try to make his way by the BMW. He's getting a great exit, but is getting blocked by the slightly wider BMW. And we have just experienced how wide you can make that car at this track. If we think back to last week, 2 weeks ago, in the Creator Clash, one BMW, multiple Porsches, and they couldn't find their way through.
That's very true. Yeah, it's the motorsport meme is real about the M4. It's a big old chungus car.
Another very great tie there by Dustin Magics into turn 10, but covered by Carsten Hermann Konarski, who's not setting a foot wrong in this race. But now with the slipstream down into the inside at Vedol, bit of contact. And exiting side by side, but with Carsten Hermann Konarski having the last laugh. As we head into 2 laps to go. Segui will be setting up for one final attempt, and Dustin Magics may do that final attempt now. He's getting pushed to the inside. Carsten Hermann Konarski, even with that chunky BMW, super strong on the brakes and still keeps the position. You would think surely at some point with all these, it has to be said, very good setups that Dustin Magics is putting up, or also Segui has put up on Dominik Ladler. One needs to find his way through at some point, but it just doesn't seem to be the case here, because for everything they offer, their counterparts have an answer.
It's been a while since we've mentioned it, but Dominik Ladler is a very, very good defensive driver. He's always he always makes it difficult for someone to get past him if that's what he wants to do. He seems to be doing just enough to fight off Segui here.
And this will be the last, well, best chance he could have down the front stretch, because we are entering the final lap. And Segui has the slipstream down the main straight. What will he do? Where will he go? He's diving down the inside. Can he get the car stopped in time? Again, side-by-side contact. They and exit side-by-side. But now on the inside line is Dominik Ladler. Can Segui make the switchback? Doesn't seem like he can. So he's leaving the turn in front. Let's see what Dustin Magics can do. Konarski with a bit of a traction loss there, exiting the Hyundai N-Crover, and that leaves him vulnerable down the straight. And Dustin Magics in the slipstream, using as much slipstream as possible, going to the inside line. Last time out, Konarski could cover it by hanging around the outside. Can he do it again? It seems like he can, and Dustin Magics again, even with the Porsche and the traction he has, not able to drag race out of turn 1.
Yeah, that was a pretty powerful move there by Dustin Magics. He just didn't quite seem to have the oomph coming out of the corner, which with a Porsche is not usually what you'd be saying.
It indeed wouldn't be, but something we have said before is Rondon Hurd wins in RCL. He comes through the final turn, and he's going to be victorious in the Aston Martin nonetheless. Congratulations to our 2-time champion for another victory in the series. Kimi Hapla, our defending champion, will come home in second, and he's celebrating with some donuts, as Ali Zaher will complete the podium. But he had to fight for it. It surely wasn't easy for him. And
yeah,
then
he had that little hiccup that we didn't catch. I'm assuming he just had a little off-track moment. He really had to fight back from there, and he's done good, but he's going to be kicking himself about that, I think.
The 5-time champion beats the rookie, but that was surely not easy. And Shurigo, a very unfamiliar car, and he made so much of it. But who will be 7th? Will it be Carsten Hermann Konarski, or will it be Dustin Magics? Doesn't go for a side-by-side into Vedol, which may have been the better decision, because with a good exit he may be able to do something to the Hyundai N-Kurve. But Carsten Hermann Konarski has it covered. He will come home in 7th. Dustin Magic's in 8th. What a defense, but also what an offense here by these two drivers. David Peko, a respectable P9 in this race. And I think somebody who can also be delighted about his finish in P10 is Piotr Zadajbel. But what a performance here.
Yeah, brilliant race by Ron. They're really kind of dominating through qualifying and then through the race, really. Building out an 8-second lead at one point, which is impressive. Also getting fastest lap with a 155.286, which I'm sure Real will be happy about. It's still about a tenth quicker than Kimi Harpler's fastest lap, a couple of tenths faster than Ali Zahir, and it's a good dominant showing at the beginning of the season. I'm sure we'll be happy about that.
It certainly is a good start to kick off the season, but I think so will a good amount of drivers think in this race. I think we only had one incident throughout. We have one DNF, which belongs to Marco Gempler, but other than that, a very, very clean and competitive race.
Yeah, I was going to say later on that we only had one DNF, which was always brilliant to see in sim racing, because it's very easy to think I'm at the back, I'm just going to quit. But everyone except one finishing, which I always like to see personally. Great racing as well by some of our long-time racers who maybe aren't always at the front of the field. Piotr Zadajbel, Dennis Kurtzer, Chestu Manera, all taking part a bit further back in the grid, but seeming to have a good time and a good race.
Yeah, and looking at the standings coming out of this race, Rowan Denholt on 26 points, Kimi Harpler on 20. Of course, there will be some other drivers as well joining that, because the second split, as we established in the race earlier, does award points as well. If we take a look at the event and in the app, you can see who won there and what kind of lap times they do. So if you want to join later iterations, I think that gives you a very good benchmark of where the other drivers are. But I think, yeah, it couldn't really have started any better this season. It picks up where we left off last time around.
Yeah, it was some great close racing, especially those two trios of drivers we had kind of nose to tail through most of the race. Yeah, didn't get much of a breath for us in the commentary box there, except for the Lino Giga German internet moments.
Isn't my fault, okay? To give you a quick heads up on who won in Split 2, it's Gabriel Gonçalves in the BMW M4 GT3. Lots of BMW M4s actually in the top positions there. 9 out of 14 people finishing in that race as well. So there will be some very happy drivers in that split as well. That was a lot of as well, but I think it was a very, very great race. Has been a pleasure to commentate on. And with all that,
hopefully a good signal for the rest of the season. I'm looking forward to more of that, please.
And more of that we will have in 2 weeks at Spa. And if Spa has taught us anything, it's that the races there are usually very, very exciting. It's the place of where some drivers collected their first official wins, Schwigo being, I think, one of the prime examples. And of course, something like the Nünninghof into turn 1 is also a very unforgettable moment. So definitely interesting with what we have learned today to see how it will behave at Spa. And of course, next week there will be the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League, which will be held with the touring cars. But there will also maybe be something else, and you should keep an eye out on the socials for that.
And I think next week we'll be announcing the round 3-4 tracks. Are we going to do that on the cast, or are we going to do that in Discord?
We will do that on the cast. So if you want to find out what stage 2, round 3 and 4 will be, make sure to tune in for the next RCL live stream in 2 weeks to find out. We will be happy to have you there, either on the track or in the race. And I'd say enjoy the rest of your evening. There's some other racing to watch throughout the night if you need that. And yeah, with all that said, see you next time out. And of course, before I forget it, because I nearly forgot it, tomorrow at 14 CET, 2 PM CET, there will be the second special event of the year, Jeddah 2 Hours GT3s and GT4s. I will most likely be taking part if some of you want to join me in GT4s. I think it will be a very interesting race.
Yeah. Jed is always a fun one for an endurance race. Well, longer race.
Certainly challenging. But yeah, now it's time to say goodbye for real. Wishing you a great evening. See you next time. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.